there are going to be people that love you, and there are going to be people that hate you, but no one is going to love you if no one hates you. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about polarization and what that means and what it is and all that sort of jazz. We're going to start with the law of duality. So the law of duality basically says, actually, let me research the exact definition. The law of duality says, in the long run, every market has a two-horse race. That is not what I fucking mean. The spiritual law of duality is probably the better one. The law of duality basically states that everything is on a continuum and has a complementary opposite within the whole. You know, to use an old adage, there may be two sides of a coin, but there is only one coin. In other words, things can appear as opposites are in fact only two extremes of the same thing, right? For instance, hot and cold may appear to be opposites at first glance, but in truth, they are simply varying degrees of the exact same thing. So that's what we are talking about today. We're talking about polarization and how you have to be a little bit more polarizing in the way that you interact with people. Your personality can be mixed up into a lot of things. You know, I know when I was a kid, I didn't want my parents to be angry at me ever. I'd seen it. Absolutely horrendous, didn't want it, and so what I would do is change my personality so that they would be happy. What do you think that kind of turned into? I turned into a caricature. I turned into a character that I was playing for my parents, and that inevitably ended up very, very bad for me because, you know, I was kind of, as you know, you've heard actors, they're typecast in a role, and that role was kind of like this very, very sweet kid, and anytime I would act out, I would be severely, if not more, punished because I had created this, you know, really, really nice image, nice guy, nice kid, and instead, if I was actually my congruent self, I could get away with a lot more things and I would never be angry. So I realized that when I tried to mentally manipulate my image on certain people, it would end up being worse. And when I was, you know, possibly more congruent to myself, it would end up better than I expected. I was like, hang on. Well, I tried to create this image that it wouldn't get that effect. You know, I tried to create this nice guy, nice kid image so that I wouldn't be, you know, I wouldn't get, you know, people would be angry at me. In effect, it did the exact same thing. And if I was more congruent to myself, more authentic, you know, spoke what was on my mind. You know, if I didn't like something, I would throw an opinion out there. You know, I was more congruent to myself. Some people are going to like it. Some people are going to hate it. If I was more like that, I wouldn't have had the backlash as bad because it would have been more in alignment with myself. So that's what we're going to talk about today, which is your personality. Because, you know, I heard this once and it never left me. And it was basically that there are going to be people that love you and there are going to be people that hate you. But no one is going to love you if no one hates you. What that means basically is that you have a personality in which you express yourself, express your authentic version of yourself. And sometimes we can be caught up in that people pleaser mentality where we're trying to please everyone. We're trying to have everyone, you know, to be drama free, to have no problems with us, to think of us as the most amazing person, to kind of, you know, they have nothing bad to us and no one will talk behind our back. No one would say a bad word about us. But in theory, like I did as a kid, that would actually, you know, kind of get us the exact result that we didn't want. Where we started to embrace more of our natural self, you know, more of our authentic self, we would find that we would be okay with the people, you know, not liking us, talking behind our back, because we would have people in our lives that were much more like, you know, I was going to say in love with us, but would be liking us much, much more. And that love or that kind of friendship would outweigh any sort of hater that we would ever get. And I remember this, even when I was, you know, just starting out in learning, you know, kind of cultivating my personality, learning success with, you know, attracting different women in my life, learning how to, you know, talk to people of higher status. And I was still, you know, in that caricature, in that character. And it wasn't until I experienced a lot of things in my life that I was like, you know what, I still have some tendencies, don't get me wrong, I never will. If you are a people pleaser, you're always going to have tendencies because you've grown up with that. But, I got so good at playing different characters that I didn't know who I was. So when I got more in alignment with who I was, more in alignment with, okay, it's me, I became a little bit less sensitive if someone hated me, if someone didn't approve of what I was doing, because I started to do a lot of things that I agreed with. So I started to pursue the passions that I agreed with, that a lot of people disagreed with. I started to make the decisions that I believed in and other people didn't believe in. And I found out that all the decisions I made that people didn't agree with were the best decisions I'd ever made. So then I kind of thought to myself, I was like, you know what? All the decisions I've made, when they've been congruent and in alignment with me and my personality and my vision, myself, my whole being, and other people didn't like, it was like, it worked because I was standing up for my personality. I was doing something that I believed in, and it really only worked because I truly believed in it. I wasn't trying to, sort of, if they said don't do this, I wasn't trying to be like, oh yeah, you're right, I shouldn't do that. And that's what I did as a kid. I was in school, in high school, and I desperately wanted to be cool. I desperately wanted to be liked by girls. I desperately wanted to have like cool people in my life, and that was oozing out. And so I would hop on different trends. I would try to do what the cool kids were doing. I'd try to kind of interact like they did, and I tried to be someone who I wasn't. And it wasn't until I started to realize that the more that you try to be other people, the more that in life it won't work. It won't actually work. When you're trying to be cool so you get everyone to like you, the opposite happens. That's that law of duality. So you try to get everyone to like you, no one will like you. You try to be more authentic yourself and you stop caring if people like you or not, a lot more people will like you. Sure, you'll have haters, but a lot more people will like you. But if that is done with intention, so if you're trying to do these things with the intention of being liked, it won't happen. It won't happen. You have to be more in kind of your reality, your space, your ecosystem, your environment, doing what you believe in. And I believe that if you start to do more of that, and sure, you can say it's selfish, you can say it's a little bit more like that, but I think it's just becoming a little bit more congruent and in alignment with you. I truly believe that it's time to stop playing the characters or the caricatures that you may be playing in order to get people's approval, to get people's like, and to be more authentic to you. I remember back in the day, I would have people that would say different things about me, and whether they were good or bad, I would kind of try to shy away from it and just like, oh no, or I'd get really upset, like, don't talk about that. Whether it's I've had different things. I remember back in the day, I actually had to do a pretty grimy kind of job. And it wasn't paying much money, and it was kind of working with a lot of different agencies in kind of thing, and I didn't really like it, and people might bring that up. I've told people and they bring, oh, Sam did this, how funny is that? And, if I was trying to kind of cultivate this image, I'd be like, oh, shut the fuck up, blah, blah, blah. But instead, I kind of went in myself and I'd be more congruent. I'm like, yeah, no, that happened. Yeah, it's kind of pretty funny. I'd be more okay with it. And then subsequently, if I did before, I was like, shut up, don't talk about that. I'm trying to kind of micromanage my image. People would be like, oh, like, take a joke, bro. It's okay. I don't think anything less of you. Like, it's all right. And they'd be like, that's kind of weird. But because I was more like, oh, I'm open, I'm relaxed, I don't really care. I'm just like, oh, well, whatever, say whatever you want. I know my value, I know my beliefs and everything like that. And it really doesn't change if you validate me or not. A lot of the time, these people would be like, oh, fuck yeah, that's super cool. So something that might not be as cool because I was so relaxed with it and so much more incongruent and in alignment with myself, they think, oh, crap, it's cool. And this is what that cool analogy was. A lot of the people in school, I remember, they would do these crazy different things, and because they continued to do it, they didn't care what other people thought of them. That's what made that thing cool. Whether it be like, the guy at school would get like a yo-yo, and it is like everyone would tease him, but he'd be like, yo, I don't give a crap, I think it's awesome. And then by he's stucking to his boundaries, stuck into his words, stuck into what he believes in, after a while you'd see the culture change and everyone else would start to get them, because he was the first person that kind of stood out among the pack and got it, and then everyone got it, and you kind of created the trend from there. I saw those things and I was like, oh, okay, so now I understand a little bit more. It's like, you're going to have naysayers, you're going to have people that hate you, but when you have that, you're also going to have people that love you. It's like, you can't make new friends if you're not willing to drop old friends out of your circle. It's this law of duality. You can't have something without, losing something else. They could be like finance and stuff like that, but in terms of like spirituality, in terms of success with women, success with people, success with gaining and attracting new and interesting people, this is the topic that a lot of people neglect. Is this being more congruent to who you are, allowing people to hate you, but by allowing people to hate you, there's going to be a lot more other people to love you. The more congruent you are, the more polarizing you can be, and more kind of yourself you can be. Not this kind of image that a lot of society has portrayed on us. This image of like, you must like this, you must do this, you must do that. Don't go against the grain. Don't think independently. Don't do critical thinking. We want to put you into this like box kind of thing. You will find that in the future you will have this genetic cookie cutter kind of person, and they're gonna be very, very lost. And for you, that you learn this information, you understand now that there is two sides to everything. One of the things is that with your free thinking and your free ability to be so congruent to yourself and kind of out there and be your own person and be the person that you want to be, it's going to come with this sort of not backlash, but this thing that happens. There's going to be people that love you, there's going to be people that hate you. And that's just what it is, unfortunately. But it's the most amazing thing, because now you can actually be yourself. You don't have to be this character or this caricature that might not be you, or that you don't like playing, or you don't like kind of even acting. It's not you, and you feel this disarray. But now you can be more your authentic self, because you know that even when you play these characters, or this character, or you're a people pleaser, or you're pleasing so many different people, in effect, it doesn't work. And I'll give you an example. I remember there was this girl, and she messaged me. She was like, "Hey, can you get something from my house?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I'll do anything for you." And I went to her house, and it's like the door was locked. I messaged her. She was like, "Break into my house." I was like, "Oh, okay." I went around and I got it, and like I was like, oh, "Okay, I got it." She's like, "Can you get this? Can you get this? Can you get this?" I was like, "Oh, okay, yes. I'll get anything you want. I'll get anything you tell me." I'm trying to make this girl like me. I'm trying to get her validation. I'm trying to get her to kind of approve of me. And so I did all these kind of things. And then I get there and she's like, "Oh, thanks," boom. Like, doesn't even give me a hug or anything like that in front of her friends. And it was funny because one of her friends, I remember, was like, "Aren't you going to just like say hello to him? Aren't you going to give him a hug? Aren't you going to like say anything?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, whatever." Boom, and gone. And then never talked to me ever again after that. And I was like, wow, that's so fascinating. What I felt like in the moment was, she's like, "Can you get something from my house?" I was like, no, I'm in the middle of something. I don't want to then go out and go do what you tell me to do. I was like, I should have said no. I felt like saying no, but because I was kind of trying to micromanage this image and get her to like me, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do anything. And in effect, it actually did the thing I didn't want it to do. In hindsight, I reckon, and we can always hypothesize, that if I said no, she would actually get more attracted to me, because, I'm sticking more to my boundaries, sticking more to my goals and what I want to do, rather than just doing what everyone else tells me to do. And so, I've got hundreds and countless of stories when I was younger about all those different things in which I did. And I was like, looking back now, I'm just like, wow, Sam, you definitely, weren't being yourself. You're being someone else. You weren't being, anything. You were just this kind of base level. You weren't polarizing. You didn't create any emotion. You were just this dull sort of person that just lingered around. And I look back and I'm like, okay, now I understand why people didn't want me around. Now I understand. I don't look at it with like, oh, these people are assholes or anything. I understand. I'm like, okay, now, social dynamics is so interesting, because there's no getting around it. It's going to be real. It's going to be truthful. It's going to be authentic. It's going to be raw. And sometimes the truth really, really hurts. So looking back at that, I realized that, if you were in that position, it's really finding out a little bit more about yourself, not the fake you that you might have been playing for a lot of years that society has conditioned you to, but the actual you, the real you, the authentic you. Do you even know who that person is? Do you know what you actually like, what you don't like, or do you just do what people tell you to do? Do you just like what culture tells you to like, or society tells you to do, or anything like that? You could have been in a university for 5 years and you realize that like you don't actually like to be a chemical engineer, or you don't like to be an accountant, or you don't like to be this or that. So you know, it's time to get really real and authentic and truthful with yourself. Like, who are you? Who the hell are you actually? You know, and you know, this can be from our upbringing, you know, that's has transformed us. But I want you to, like, you know, literally go down, dig deep, and, you know, and actually sit with yourself and be like, oh, okay, what do I like to do? Who am I? What am I about? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? Who are the people I want to attract? Who are the people I want to get around? You know, and who is the partner I want? Who is this and that? Actually get freaking deep with yourself. Stop this surface level bullshit and actually get deep. You know, sure, if you can see how this sort of mentality is like, sure, some people aren't going to resonate with it. Absolutely not. But some people are going to fucking love it because you're actually authentic to who you are. You're not trying to be someone else, because you're not good at trying to be someone else. You're better at just playing who you really are, even if you don't have practice with it. You could have been playing a character just to please everyone for the last 15, 20 years. But it doesn't matter how much experience you have. No one is better at playing the real you than you. Okay, it doesn't matter. You're never going to play a better version of a character or an image or a, you know, a conjured up kind of, neatly, like a, you know, maintenance character that you're trying to push to the world, this image. You know, it doesn't work. You see people like that. You see people like, you know, you see your Miley Cyrus, for example. You know, imagine being put under the pressure of being Hannah Montana. A great example is that, you know, she was saying in an interview that most people there would be more people at her Hannah Montana concerts than her Miley Cyrus concert, her real self. There was more people at a concert of her as a different image, you know, and so you can see how someone that really affects them mentally, and they're like, you know what, I just want to be myself, and then you go through a whole public thing just to kill that image, you know, kill the Hannah Montana image, and now she's thriving doing what she loves to do, you know, herself. So, you know, this is kind of what you need to kill the character. You need to kill the character you've been playing and become the authentic version of you, the more congruent version of yourself. So, Sam here, peace and out. I'll see you in another video.